All right, so we are here on this Saturday afternoon, Ellis Joshua and Coach Wink for another podcast, Weekly Crossbar. So, Coach Wink, this is our first podcast with some actual games to recap from the week of the beginning of the 2024 high school season. So, we'll definitely be looking forward to jumping in to some recaps of a bunch of the games that the LILJ was on site for this past week. Also, just kind of going through a bunch of the games that are taking place coming up this week, as we got well over 100 games coming up starting on Monday for week 2 of the 2024 season. But Coach Wink, how you doing here this afternoon?
Doing great. I'm doing great, Alex. It was great getting back on the field this week, even though the weather wasn't so nice for you and I, and had to miss one of those games, and I missed a good one, which we'll talk a little bit about in a little while. Before we get going on the high school lacrosse season, I want to talk about something that came up in a text that I had with a high school coach. We were texting back and forth. As you know, every night we're trying to get scores and stats and get it all in the LILJ so that everybody can follow high school lacrosse on Long Island. And I was texting with one of the coaches, and her game had to be rescheduled for I guess, for weather conditions. And we were just talking, and she mentioned to me that one of her players next week, there's some school breaks next week. I think a lot of the parochials are out of school. One of her players, one of her starters, was going away during the lacrosse season, and it just it was like a cartoon. It was like my head was gonna explode. You ever watch those Looney Tunes where the guy's head explodes?
Oh
And I was
yeah.
and I was like, what? One of your starters is going on vacation, going on like I don't understand. So then I thought to myself, this is an opportunity to discuss this on our forum, which is obviously our daily crossbar that we talk lacrosse and stuff like that. But one of the things I always like to talk about is parenting, because obviously the kid didn't plan the vacation, because I'm sure the 16 or 17-year-old person didn't, pay for the vacation. It was a parent who paid for the vacation. And I kind of just went into Wikipedia and I put in three words. Okay, I put in commitment, I put in teammate, and I put in dedication. Commitment definition is an engagement or obligation that restricts freedom of action. You made a commitment to your team that you were going to be there for them during the season. Even if you got injured, you're there for them in moral support. And if you're not injured, obviously you're trying to play and help the team on the field. Or if you're not playing because you're a sub, you're on the sideline supporting your teammates. That does not allow you to go on vacation during your season. Now, that is obviously the decision of the parent. I would like to open up the forum to everybody that listens to us to find out who in their right mind would plan a vacation when their child was playing and made a commitment to a team. There's plenty of times for you to go on vacation, but you made a commitment to your high school varsity. I mean, what does that say about parenting? What does that say about the leader of the household? Because it's the leader of the household that makes that decision. The child doesn't make the decision, but the child will follow what the parent says.
Hmm.
Okay, so as a parent, what are you thinking? Please feel free to shoot me an email so I can understand your thinking, why you would go on vacation when your child is committed to their team. What is a good teammate? That's what I want to know. Is a good teammate somebody that leaves them because, oh, I can go to Disney World, I can go to Aruba, I can go to Paris? That's selfish. That's not a good teammate. And it's funny, teammate is a fellow member of a team. Dedication is self-sacrificing devotion and loyalty. These are not characteristics of that, right?
Yeah.
You're showing that you're selfish, not selfless. And I just lost my mind when I got this text. Now, I've heard this before and I don't agree with it, And these are the issues these are systemic issues that are caused by bad parenting. Okay, now I can understand if somebody's sibling is getting married and you have to go to a wedding. So you might have to miss a game for that. That's totally understandable, right? A
Yeah,
family member's
there's
getting
certain
married. God
yeah,
forbid someone passes away. This is not
right.
what we're talking
There's
about.
extenuating circumstances for sure.
Exactly. And that, to me, those are understandable. You know, you're going to a wedding, you're in the wedding, it's your sister, your brother, your uncle, your aunt. Okay, I get that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about leaving your commitment to go on vacation during your season. I don't get that. So someone's got to let me know why you would do such a thing and how you're teaching your child the right things. And, I brought it up earlier before we jumped into this podcast. Okay. So you go to work for a company, and every year there's a convention in Vegas or wherever, doesn't matter where. And your company, all the people go to that convention because it's important to your business. And you decide to plan a vacation. How long do you think you're going to be employed by that company?
Not very long.
First of all, I can tell you right now, if I was the head coach, that player would not be on the team.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you're not starting the next game. You're not playing the next game. You're not on the team. You're a bad teammate. Am I saying something that's not fair?
No, not at all. I mean, you're supposed to be dedicated and committed to the season, to the team, to your teammates, and that means being there throughout the entirety of the season. Like, there's no, oh, I'm not going to be around on days X, Y, and Z. I'm going to be out of town. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works at any level.
I'll
But
tell you a funny
let alone,
story, Al. This is one of my favorite youth stories. I remember when I started coaching youth lacrosse on Long Island. I had moved out here in the early 90s, and I'd asked a group of dads and moms in the community I was living in when they start lacrosse, and they said third grade. I said, when do you start games? And they said third grade. And I said, that doesn't make sense to me. You shouldn't really start games until the kids can catch and throw and understand the sport. So I started a
mm,
K-2 clinic in the community I was living in with a bunch of the dads and moms. And we had a bunch of kids playing, boys and girls. And the first practice we had, we had a group of kids. And the second practice, I see a kid walking up the hill to the practice, and he had no equipment with him. He was just walking. And because they were K-2, we didn't really start it until the weather started getting nice, like in April. And his name was Kevin Pagari. And he walked up to me. I said, Kev, what's up? And where's your equipment? And he's like, oh, I got hurt on a skateboarding accident this week, and I got a bunch of stitches in my knee. And he had like stitches in his knee, and it was wrapped up. This is like a first grader. And I
mm-hmm.
was like, and you came to practice? And he's like, yeah, I'm here to watch. And I'm like, after practice, will you do me a favor? Where's your dad? And he goes, oh, my dad's in the car. He's working. He's doing some work while the practice is going on. I said, after practice, I want to meet your dad. Okay. So practice ends. I walk down with my son, Corey, and Kev, and his dad's sitting in the car doing some paperwork. And I go over there and I knock on the window and I introduce myself. Joe Pagari's Kevin's dad. Joe was a New York City fireman. His house was in the Bronx. And unbelievable human being. And I told him how impressed I was that how old are you in first grade? 7, 6? Your
Yeah,
7-year-old is at
6.
practice when he couldn't play. And Joe and I became very close. He was living in Northport at the time. He ended up moving to Cold Spring, where I raised my kids. Our kids won the first state championship together. Kevin went on to play at North Carolina. Kevin just had his first baby about, I'm going to say, like 4 months ago. And it just, the reason I'm bringing up this story is that's raising a child. That's teaching a child what's right.
Yeah, that's setting a good precedent right there.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't play. You got to wait a week to get the stitches out. But you got to go, and you might learn something listening. You're part of the team. Okay? I mean, yeah, it's cool like Kevin went on to have a great career, but that has nothing to do with this. Okay? It has nothing to do with this. But it does have something to do with it. Why? Because when you put together a lot of Kevin Pagaris on a team, you have a really successful team. And what is that? That's a selfless player that will pick up a ground ball and move it. Might not, get any glory, but help the team win. And that's the part that blows me away when I hear these stories about selfishness and the lack of commitment. It's our job as parents and grandparents to teach this. They don't just learn it, right? You don't wake up in the morning and understand commitment.
No, everything is taught.
Right. So the reason I'm telling these stories and the reason I'm, getting all hyped up about it is I want parents to start realizing that they're making an impression on their child, and it's forever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The lack of commitment or the commitment is forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important that we convey these stories, and hopefully some parents that are young parents that are figuring it out. And trust me, we all go through moments of figuring it out. We don't have all the answers. So hopefully these kind of conversations can help people. As we move on, as we get off the soapbox and start talking about high school lacrosse, let's start with the week of Ellis.
I like to call it the week of the LILJ. We got to go back. We got to go back to the beginning of the week, I guess. We got to go back to Monday, and that was the first game that we covered to start the week. We were out at Comac, where we saw the boys take on John Glenn, and John Glenn, they got that first win of the season. And how about Matt Triolo? How about the day that he had as John Glenn? They got the win in that one, the shootout, 16-12. But Matt Triolo, the Delaware commit, he had himself a day. He had I believe he had seven goals in that game.
Yeah, they used 7-1, and the midi, the lefty midi Hopkins, who had 4 goals.
Yeah, Grayson. Yep.
So they had 11 of their 16 goals. I think it was, what was it, 16-12 that game?
Yeah, 16-12 final.
And then the goalie for Glenn, Ethan Levy, played very well. I think those are your 3 East Fitness Gate player of the game, right?
Yeah, the POGs from that one. Yeah, those 3 guys, Triolo, Hopkins, and Levy.
Yeah, it's funny. We spent a lot of time at Comac. One of the dads, I think, is leaving a key under his mat so you can stay at his house, so it's less of a commute for you.
Yeah, we made Comac our secondary home this week for sure.
Yeah, where were we on Tuesday?
Tuesday we were at Huntington. We had Huntington, Port Washington.
Yes.
I think I had a mini heart attack pulling up because no one was on the field. I was like, wait, am I in the right place? Because they got that game started a little late. But Huntington, they got their first win of the season, 13-8 over Port Washington. That was a good game though, because like Huntington, they started off strong. Dan McNulty, I think he kind of got the team going, got them fired up. But then Port, they rallied from down 3 to tie the game at one point, tied at 3-3, and then Huntington, they kind of pulled away again and were able to really fend off Port Washington. But for Huntington, I mean, Dan McNulty, Colin Lennon in the net, Will Fallon, also Timmy McDonald, he had a couple highlight reel goals for Huntington. But that's a good win for them to get the season started.
Yeah, I got to tell you something. I was super impressed with a bunch of kids on both teams. One of the things about Huntington that I thought was really, I guess, interesting is they have offensively 3 righties and 3 lefties in their top 6. That's very rare to have, which makes you very, very tough
Yeah.
to defend. You know what I mean? Like literally, like I would love to coach their offense because forget that they have 6 really high quality kids. I mean, we didn't even mention Tommy Klein, Herbanco,
Yep.
Tommy
Giramonte.
G. Those are the other 3 we didn't mention. Those 6. That's a really good. I'm curious to look around the island and see 6 on any team. I mean, obviously St. A's and Chaminade got 6, but I'm talking public school. That's 6 scary offensive players that they could throw at you. And I'm sure every coach just looks at it, because you can do so many different things. You know what I mean? Having righties and lefties, very rarely. You always have teams that have one lefty. Or the other day we were watching, who was it, Smithtown West, and they didn't have any lefties.
Hmm.
I think it was West. But I was very impressed with the McCarville twins
For Paul
for
Washington.
Paul Washington.
Hmm.
I hadn't gotten a chance. I guess this is like their year to break out, and I think those kids are 2 high quality kids. Port's got some dudes. Obviously, they got 2 goalies. They got Meyer and Einen, the young kid who started as an 8th grader, but 2 very good goalies. We saw good goaltending in that game. I thought the goaltending was good in that game.
Yeah, it was. Absolutely.
And then Wednesday, we went back to Ellis's new home, Comac.
Yeah, back to Comac on Wednesday for the girls, and that was a good one. Good non-league game against Rocky Point. So Rocky Point, they held on in that one for a 7-6 win. But that was definitely a competitive game from the jump. And just talking about Rocky Point, I think we got to start in that game with Anna Wood, the midfielder going to USF, the senior. So she had a game like on both ends of the field. So, but I think really her impact was more noticeable or more pronounced on the defensive side because she had 7 caused turnovers and 7 ground balls.
That's unbelievable.
Like that, yeah. Like you'll take those numbers in a week if you have 2 or 3 games.
So
She
true.
had that in the first game of the season.
I got to tell you something. I didn't know her game as well, but, I knew Lamoureux, I knew Vu, we knew the Molars, but it was like, wow, this kid is awesome. And obviously, USF starting a brand new program, getting 2
Hmm.
studs coming in from St. Anthony's. They're getting some good kids from around the country. I'm really excited to see. And we got Amanda Ettinger from Seaford who's down there now.
Yep.
Their first year at USF is not till spring of 25.
Yeah, so we still got a whole year before they actually get their season started. But they're doing a great job of recruiting, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And
Coach
they got
McCord.
the Livingston kid from Sable, the defender. She's
Yeah,
coming in
Lucy
too.
Livingston. Yep.
So they're tapping into the LI talent, which is exciting.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Going down south, some warm weather. If I ever did it again, I think I would definitely go to warm weather.
You think that would if you could go back if you could go back in time, where where do you think you're going? You think you're going down to like the state of Florida?
Now I'm playing
Uh,
club. I'm playing club at like Alabama, Clemson, South
ooh,
Carolina. Yeah, I'm playing club somewhere. 100%.
okay.
100%. There's no doubt in my mind. That's where McNulty's going. He's going to Clemson. The lefty from
Yes, that's right.
he's got
Hmm.
a brother down there who's playing down there. Dude, that's the life. You want to have 4 amazing years? Go pick a big time university and go play club
Yeah,
and win a
just
national. Matter of fact, I was just talking to someone. The guy Hartzell, who's the new defensive coordinator at the Cannons. I was talking to Coach Holman at the Cannons. His defensive coordinator coaches University of Texas Austin club.
Wow.
They're number 3 in the country supposedly now in
Wow.
boys. People
That's
don't
pretty
realize
legit.
what a cool experience club lacrosse is at the collegiate level, at the
Mhm.
big time. Boston College has a big time club. Arizona State, UC Santa Barbara has a big time club. That's a cool school. I visited that school. That school's cool. I don't want to fall away from the teams, but that school is really. They have 4 beaches on campus.
That's sick.
There's 4 places to go to the beach on campus.
That's sick.
Oh, I got to go
Yeah,
study.
I
Where you
feel like,
going? Oh, I'm going to go over there. Oh, where's that? The beach.
yeah, no, I feel like I think you've told me that before. I think you've told me that you've been there,
I
and
took Corey. I took
yeah,
Corey to look at that school.
yeah, you tried. I think you tried to get him to go there, right?
I tried. He said he went. He said if he went to UC Santa Barbara, he wouldn't open a book.
Hey, at least he knew. He was
Yeah,
honest with himself.
yeah. He was a lot more mature going into college than his father. I would have definitely. If my father gave me that opportunity, I'd been like, "All right,
You'd
sign
have
me
taken
up."
it and ran with it.
I wouldn't have come home. I would never come home. Oh God. Okay, so that was Wednesday. Oh, let's talk a little
Yeah,
bit about.
just
Let's not run away from the rest of the kids on the team. We
yeah,
talked
yeah,
about.
yeah. I
You
want to
go.
mention Breezy Henke too for Rocky Point in the net.
Oh
Breezy
yeah,
was
she played
awesome.
sick.
She was awesome. 14 saves, 70% save percentage.
Yeah, I'm
That's
trying to.
big time.
I'm trying to think. It's funny. I don't know if you know this. We talked a little bit about this. Um, Comac fought back, scored what with like 20 something
Yes.
seconds?
Yeah, I think there was 23, 24 seconds left when they scored that goal to make it 7-6.
Was it more to Bright?
Yeah.
And then they lost the draw, and that was the game was over.
Yeah.
But a little thing about it, they played last night against Smithtown West, which is one of the top B schools in Suffolk, and ended up beating them 8-6. So playing a game before you play, like a team like West probably helped them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And those playing both of those non-league games, like Rocky Point and then Smithtown West, like those are good non-league games for a team like Comac who's going to be competing in the A's. So it's like you lose a tough 1-goal game to Rocky Point, but then you get a good win against Smithtown West. Like that's got to feel good once you start playing your league games.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out in the Comac game. If you remember, I got to give a shout out to Kate Hearns. I got to tell you something. This kid, every time you and I go to cover a Comac game, impresses.
Hmm.
She picks off passes. She
Yes,
defends.
it's so
She
true.
clears the rock. She is all over the field. This kid going to Bucknell. She's going to kill it at Bucknell. And a little shout out to a little 8th grader that we noticed that was clearing the
Yep.
ball when the game was like the game was always tight. Ashley Arizonis had a
Yep.
clear in that game where I looked at you and go, "Is that Arizonis?" And you go, "I think so." And then she came over to our side and we could see that was her. And we are like, she was playing with so much confidence as an
Oh
8th
yeah.
grader.
Yep. Yeah, that's huge. And she was playing in the Winter League for Comac. So it's
Helped her.
nice to see her out there in the spring season as an 8th grader playing for again a contending team. Like that's
Oh,
huge.
Comac's going to be in the mix with Melville, Northport, Floyd, right? Would you say those are the top 4? Am I missing somebody in the A's? Huntington,
Yeah,
maybe.
I think there's probably about 5 to 6 teams in the A's possibly that'll be vying for at least a spot in the Final Four.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Huntington surprised us, obviously. You want to talk about the next night when you went out to Comswat. Coach Wink couldn't come because it was Mrs. Wink and Coach Wink's anniversary. So you went solo. How did that? I know that was a delayed game, right? The bus was late
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, that was another delayed game. I know you told me the day after you checked your phone at like 5:45 looking for some highlights and there was nothing there. I know you were concerned about me wondering what was going on. But yeah, delayed start, but a good game that actually ended up going to OT. So Comswag got the win 8-7 game winner by Vienna Guzman, a game-winning free po. But that was a game where Huntington, they rallied back. They were down by 3 goals on 2 occasions, down 6-3, and then Kaylee Bender, she kind of really took over down the stretch to get them to tie the game at 6. But then Guzman gave Comswag the lead again. But then I went IG Live, had a chance to do the first IG Live of the season when Huntington got the ball back, had like 50 seconds. Coach Riley took a timeout. Shout out to that because that allowed me to queue up the IG Live, so that the timeouts are very helpful for me. but but yeah, so then they got the tying goal by Sabrina Boyle with 9 seconds left to force OT, and then Comswag ended up taking it. OT wasn't even very long. I'd say they got the goal within maybe a minute and a half. But Guzman got the game-winning free po. But good game though, really good game.
I got to watch that last night. I guess you must have posted the Sabrina Boyle goal.
Yes, yeah, I posted that. So I did the 2
Nice
lives.
lefty goal. Nice lefty goal.
Yeah,
I was impressed. Very impressed.
yeah,
And
that was.
and you mentioned Ava McDonald to me, who's only a freshman. She had the daunting task of covering Gianna McNulty, and you said she did an amazing job. And we're obviously very high on Gianna McNulty as a sophomore who's about to go through the whole recruiting process this summer. And you said McDonald did a great job on her.
Yeah, great game. Absolutely. Yeah, holding McNulty. McNulty didn't have any points in that game.
Which is not easy because that girl's usually lighting up
No.
the scoreboard.
Yeah, and she'll definitely be doing that this spring for sure. But
That's a positive sign for Ava Mack. Shows that you can cover a Gianna McNulty one-on-one. You can cover.
yeah, and for Comswag also Jayla Calendar, she had a real nice game. That's an athlete right there.
Oh, she's a third.
That's
I
an
want to
athlete.
see her. We got to cover her in soccer. Somebody told me she's a really good soccer player.
Yeah, I remember you told me that. You did hear that.
Yeah, we got to cover her in soccer next fall. That's we got to remember to do that. I mean, soccer's not as exciting to cover for us, but it's cool to see them play their other sports. You know what I mean? Like basketball is more exciting to watch. Like soccer, it's if the game's 3-2, that's the most exciting game of your life. Which obviously Americans love scoring, so I'm one of those Americans. I mean, I don't dislike soccer. I like soccer, but I can't watch the 0-0 games. I mean, come on. Not for Coach Wake. I don't know if you saw in the NCAA, Colorado, Florida, 102 to 100.
I saw that. Yep.
That's a Coach Wink game.
Yeah. And that's rare for a college game. Team scoring 100 or more.
Before we get into the Smithtown West, Smithtown East game from last night, which was a doozy, I want to talk about Bayport women's lacrosse because we didn't cover this game, but on Thursday, they played American Heritage from Florida. And for those of you who don't know it, American Heritage is the top 20 program in the country the last probably 7-8 years. They're ranked 1 in the Southeast. Now, remember, Florida starts in January. So this was American Heritage's 10th or 11th game. I think they were either 10-0 or 9-0 going into the game. They won every game convincingly that they've played. And the least amount of goals that they scored, most of their games, they scored 16 or 17 goals. But they scored, the lowest they scored in the whole year going into the Bayport game was 10 goals. The final of the game was Bayport 4, American Heritage 1. Now,
that's unbelievable.
For those of you, I've seen American Heritage play because 2 years ago, Tyler Kresser and myself went down to U.S. Lacrosse, and Bayport opened up with them 2 years ago, and Bayport lost by a goal in that game, and I was blown away how good American Heritage was. That was a 7-6 game, if I remember correctly. I don't remember. I'm almost positive. And Bayport, if they had another minute on the clock, would have tied it. They hit a pipe at the end. But to hold John McClain's American Heritage team to 1 goal is like holding the Kansas City Chiefs, shutting them out in football.
Yeah,
Think of
I
it.
mean,
That's how good that team is. So that's kudos to Gick and Maloney coaching up his girls and that defense. And just so everybody knows, 3 of their 4 starters and their goalie from last year graduated.
yep.
That's unbelievable. Like when do you replace 3 starters and a goalie? Now, Shannon Aldean, excellent goalie. I mean, Felicia Giglio starting at Navy as a freshman. So you know how good she is. The 3 defenders from last year were lights out, right? Lights out.
Yep.
But they replaced them with quality kids. That's building a program. Kudos to the Bayport team and to Gick and Maloney for getting those girls ready for that game. I mean, wow. When I heard that score, I texted Gick and said, that could be your best win in the history of Bayport.
Ever. Yeah.
Holding that team to 1 goal?
I mean, holding any team to 1 goal is like really hard to fathom, but especially a team of that ilk and like that high level. I mean, they won't be held to 1 goal again. Like,
Ever.
no.
I know it's unbelievable. So I don't want to spend any more time at that game, but I just wanted to give a little shout out to the Bayport crew because that's amazing. Last night, I got to tell you, was a fun, festive game for us.
Yeah, that was a good one. We definitely picked a good one. We've had 3 1-goal games this week that we've covered.
So
The last 3.
you and I love rivalry games, right?
Yeah.
So
Those are a
Smithtown West,
big deal.
Smithtown East, you can't get any more heated.
No, and it was getting heated early.
And the best was getting to spend 20 minutes to a half hour with their AD Jason Lambert. That was my favorite part of the night because he was right in the middle of it when that broke out. He's wearing his Ranger hat because it was pretty cold out. So he's wearing a winter Ranger hat. I go, yeah, you were like a referee in like a hockey fight. Talk a little bit about the game.
Yeah, so I mean that game that was Smithtown West's first game. Smithtown East, they had played a game already, had a tough loss to Kings Park, but in that game, so Smithtown East, they got off to a pretty good start. Jumped out 3-1, I believe, and then at one point led 5-2. And it was looking like Smithtown East was going to kind of hold control over that game. But I really want to shout out, I think, the defenses really for both teams. I thought both teams, like, the Poles were really getting after it. I mean, for Smithtown East, Sean Pellegrino, that's a big kid, first of all.
I got to tell you something. If he was on my high school or college team, he'd be my best friend.
Yeah, you want that
you know
guy
why,
like
right?
Well, I feel like he's a guy like you want him protecting you, especially someone like me and you. Like we're small. Let's
Right.
just be honest.
Exactly.
We're not.
So
the
he would
biggest
be my
guys.
boy. He'd be my boy. I would go everywhere and I'd be standing right next to him. And I could stand behind Sean Pellegrino and you wouldn't see me.
Same for me. I wouldn't be seen if I'm standing behind him.
He is a big human being.
Yeah.
And he can move, dude.
Yeah.
He played awesome, by the way. He played awesome.
Yeah, he did.
So did their goalie.
Yeah, Brendan Carroll. Yep.
One of the best highlights though was Bonacera, the goalie from West, making those 3 saves, and then the 4th the kid scored. But that was a sick, like I don't even know if it was 10 seconds, but it was a sick 10-second of lacrosse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there were a couple goals in that game where it was like tough luck for the goalies because it's like they made the initial saves, but then those rebounds, like the offenses, they kept getting like 3 and 4 chances to score.
Yeah, it was exciting. I really enjoyed the game. The fans were great. I thought East had better student support than West.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were like getting into it. The music was great. I love that they play the
We,
Ranger,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Ranger goal, and that's Jason
We,
Lambert. Shout out because we're both Ranger fans. He's a Ranger fan, and he coached there years ago, and he started that when they won the section. His first year he coached. Coach Lambert was 26 years old, and they won the counties and played Farmingdale that year. Farmingdale had arguably the best high school roster I have ever seen. That was when Matt Danowski was a senior, and they had like I think they had like 6 Division I All-Americans. You know, when they went on to play in college.
mm-hmm.
But anyway, Jason, they get the Ranger goal score, which I love after every goal
Yeah.
for East. So that was early on. It sounded like it was going to be I thought it was going to be a blowout, and then Nico Cottage was the difference too.
Yeah, Nico Cottage at the face-off X. That was huge because that kept West within striking distance, and then they were able to rally back. I mean, they got some critical defensive stops. Then they got crucial goals. John Savino, Liam Byrne, um, and then they ended up holding on at the end for an 8-7 win when Smithtown East they had possession. They had possession within the final like 30 seconds or so with a chance.
They were
And
man
then
up. They were man up.
yeah, they were man up. And then in the final seconds, Ben Rappa, he had a deflection for Smithtown West and ball hit the ground. And then like once it hit the ground, pretty much time expired and that ended up being the game. So a comeback win for Smithtown West.
And that was Coach Schultz's first win, by the way.
Yes,
Coach
it
Matt
was.
Schultz took over the
Yup.
program. So hopefully someone gave him the game ball because it's always cool to win your first game. Who were the POGs that you had in that game?
Yeah, so the POGs, Nico Cottage, Ben Rappa, and CJ Guglemio. I believe that's how you pronounce his name.
Number 17, number 24, and number 12.
Yes.
To get to a West game, check this out. Cool
I
story, guys, just to throw this out there to show you how important high school sports are. The two Rappa boys, number 22 was the right? No, the mid was the no midi was 44. 44 was the midi, right?
mm-hmm.
And 24 was the
24.
defender. Both those kids, high level hoopers for the Smithtown West Bulls, came out again. They hadn't played lax since I think freshman year, and they're both influential in helping that team win in that big game.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I was telling you yesterday how we saw them when we
Oh yeah.
covered their hoops last year. We covered Smithtown West against Northport. So I remember seeing them on the court, and that was a good game. Like West
Smithtown
won
West
by
won, you said,
yeah, they
right?
won by yeah, maybe 5 points, I want to say. That
Yeah.
was a really good game.
Interesting. We go to cover a basketball game because a bunch of Northport lacrosse players are playing basketball. It was Quentin Reynolds, and Drew Miller, right? Those were the
Hmm.
two.
Yeah.
And the Rapper boys were the stars of the hoop team for West.
Yep.
And now they decide in their last spring they're going to play with their boys. Now, when you know, it's funny. It's like full circle on this podcast because I started out with talking about good teammates and
Hmm.
dedication and commitment. Shout out to the Rapper boys and mom and dad for those kids coming out and playing lax again. And dude, the first game the kid played, the defender wins a POG.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. Shout out to the Rappers. That's great. So that was it. And then today we decided to let the weather keep us inside and go podcast on us, right?
Yeah, the weather's not looking pretty today, which is unfortunate, but it allowed us to have the time, like you said, to do the podcast and get this out to the people today.
Yeah, I mean, the greatest thing about what we get to do every day is watch these quality young men and young women who are competing their butts off. And I just hope that the communities, support these kids and help these kids and just continue to grow why you should be playing. You should be playing because you love it. And we talked about the Rapper boys, obviously, they're basketball kids that are playing lacrosse right now just because they love it and they want to be with their friends. And it should be a positive, happy experience because you and I are lucky enough that we get to go and promote these kids. And it's pretty cool that, the things that we get to do with lacrosse. But I really enjoyed this week. I'm looking forward to next week. And obviously we got Easter, so no Good Friday games and
Yep.
no games on Easter. So in 5 days, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, there's going to be 87, 98, 67, 155 games, 156 games
Wow.
in those 5 days of boys, girls, Nassau, Suffolk, and private parochial.
Lacrosse is back, baby. It is
Oh,
back.
wait a minute. I almost forgot because we didn't cover this game because it's a national game. But our number one selection on the boys' side, St. Anthony's, last Sunday at Rutgers. I can't even believe I forgot about this. At Rutgers, first game of the year, played the supposedly number one team in the country, Culver Academy, where they basically recruit to, and you go to live in Indiana and play for Coach Bersner, who is a Long Island guy, the head coach at Culver, grew up in Levittown, played at MacArthur. He's a great naval player, Navy player, played on that Final Four team. Anyway, came away with an 8-7 win at Rutgers, which was an unbelievable win. Got a chance to speak to Coach Weiserak, and shout out to the St. A boys. We'll be out there watching them play. We're gonna catch a couple games for St. A's this year, but the girls open up this Tuesday against the Wanto Warriors.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
So the two number ones, the boys held serve. Let's see what the girls do.
Yep.
Wanto won their first game. They beat Kellenberg.
They beat Kellenberg. Yep.
What was it? 13-6, I believe. Am I right?
10-6.
10-6. Sorry. Okay. How'd my girl Sarasi do?
I mean, let me pull up the box score. Just so I'm accurate here. Give me 1 sec.
Did she light it up?
Give me 1 sec.
Her
Tell
and
you
Diggs.
Tell you that in a minute here.
Yeah, they got some
if
dudes.
if you had to bet, what would you say? Yeah, yes or no? Did she light it up?
I would say she goes like 4-2 or 5-2.
All right, let's take a look here. 4 goals.
Really? She's usually got a few assists in her because she draws doubles all the time. What was the stat line in the Kellenberg game? Who had a good day for Kellenberg?
Kellenberg looked like they were sharing the wealth. So you got a goal from Bridget Brown, a goal from Kaylin Mastro Giovanni, a goal from Erin Ochino, 1 goal from Ava Puccio, and you got 2 from Valentina Puccio.
The Pooches.
And 11 saves from Delaney Clark.
Yeah, Delaney. Yeah. So that's good. I'm real curious to see how the week starts out this week because most of the big boys are getting after it this week. Northport opens up against Huntington.
Yeah, yes they do.
That's a little crosstown rivalry for the girls and Coach Rose.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know this, Coach Rose, who is arguably the greatest high school coach in the history of women's lacrosse. I mean, I'm not exaggerating what I'm saying right now. She has a shot to get to 500 wins this year. Depending on how the team does. The team looks pretty good. If they can get 15 wins, she will be at 500 wins in her career.
I mean, that's just unreal. It's safe to say she's on the Mount Rushmore of lax coaches.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We should do something like that. I like that idea. That's a good idea, Al. Do a little Mount Rushmore of high school Long Island lacrosse.
Yeah.
I like that.
We'll do that together.
We could do it with coaches. We could do it with players.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You do it with teams, like just the history of teams.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. We'll have to do that. We'll have to put a little poll out there and ask people. I mean, obviously we know the Blue Bloods, as they say in the Final Four, right? The Blue Bloods?
Mm-hmm.
I love when they talk about blue bloods. One of the blue bloods went down pretty good there.
I know.
Dude, I love that coach from
March
Oakland. All right.
Madness.
I don't want to get into a basketball talk because some of you guys will get bored by it, but watch the NCAAs because March Madness is great. I love March Madness.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get off this call with you and I'm going to go watch some college hoops.
Yeah, I'd say it's about lunchtime right now. It's lunchtime and time for hoops. Also, we got the Knickerbockers too. They probably just tipped off a few
They
minutes
did.
ago.
It's a 1:00 start and the Rangers are at 8.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ellis, for spending some time with Coach Wink and making me feel better about myself.
Hey, and anytime. Come on. This is the duo right here.
I'll see you later, buddy.
All right, Wink. Thanks for everyone who tuned in.